The space station known as Haven's Edge hung like a silver beacon in the void between human space and the sprawling territories of alien civilizations. For the first time, representatives from Earth had arrived here, carrying hopes and uncertainties. In equal measure, the station itself was a sprawling labyrinth of corridors, observation decks, and diplomatic chambers, where the fate of alliances could be decided or destroyed. Captain Darius Holt stepped off the shuttle with quiet confidence. Years of service on Earth's battlefields had taught him the weight of words and the sharpness of silence. His face was lined with scars that spoke of countless battles fought, and his eyes held a calm that could unsettle even the proudest alien warrior. Beside him trotted Mutt, his companion, a small, dog-sized robot shaped like a terrier. With gleaming metal limbs and a head filled with softly glowing sensors, Mutt moved with uncanny grace and intelligence as the human delegation made their way toward the central chamber. Many alien eyes followed them with suspicion or amusement. The crowd was a swirling mix of species tall and slender, short and armored, some with glowing skin, others with multiple limbs. They whispered among themselves, curious but wary. Humanity was young on the galactic stage, seen as primitive by many. The Kroth's Dominion, represented by Warlord Vaketoon, regarded the humans with particular disdain. Vaketoon was a towering figure, his thick exoskeleton glinting under the station's lights. His many eyes narrowed as he observed Mutt. To him, the robotic dog was no more than a useless trinket, something only the weak would carry. The Kroth warrior's lips curled into a sneer. Inside the diplomatic chamber, the atmosphere was tense but formal. The grand hall was filled with delegates seated around a circular table that spanned nearly the entire room. Holographic maps floated above the table's center, displaying star systems and territories in shifting blue and red hues. Voices in dozens of languages echoed softly, translated instantly by the station's universal translator. Darius took his seat and placed a hand gently on Mutt's metallic head. The drone looked up at him with simulated loyalty, its sensors flickering with a faint blue light. Around the table, other delegates exchanged skeptical glances. Some whispered that humans relied too much on machines, that they lacked the strength and honor of other species. Then came the moment that would change everything. Warlord Vaketoon stood, his deep voice cutting through the murmurs. "What kind of warrior brings a pet to a council of battle-hardened leaders?" he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "This thing belongs in the kennels, not at the table of equals." Laughter erupted from many corners of the room. The Kroth warrior strode forward and deliberately stepped on Mutt's side. There was a sharp crunch as metal bent and circuits sparked. Mutt emitted a low whine before going completely silent. The hall fell into stunned silence. Darius rose slowly. His gaze locked on Vaketoon. "You don't understand what you've done," he said quietly, but with a steel edge that made even the Kroth hesitate. Vaketoon laughed, a harsh sound like grinding stone. "I insult what I see. You're weak. Your machines are toys." Darius crouched to Mutt's side and began assessing the damage. The robotic companion was more than a pet, was a legacy. A secret far deeper than any of these delegates could imagine. "No," Darius said softly. "This is a warning." The other delegates watched as the human captain stood tall again, calm and unshaken. For the first time, some felt a flicker of doubt about their judgment. This was not a man to be underestimated. As the meeting resumed, the tension hung heavier than ever. Somewhere deep in the station's core, unseen by all, a silent message was sent. A protocol long hidden was waking up, one tied to Mutt and to humanity's darkest secrets. And the galaxy was about to learn what happens when you mock a human's companion. The great hall of Haven's Edge shimmered with the soft glow of alien technology as the diplomatic feast commenced. Delegates from dozens of star systems gathered beneath a vaulted ceiling that seemed to capture every twinkle of distant stars. Tables curved gracefully around the chamber, laden with strange delicacies from across the galaxy, glowing fruits, crystallized meats, and drinks that shifted colors like liquid rainbows. Captain Darius Holt sat quietly, his eyes never straying far from Mutt, who remained at his feet, its damaged side patched with a temporary alloy. The other delegates avoided looking directly at the small robotic terrier, but whispers circulated through the crowd, among the many species present. Few were as loud or as brash as Warlord Vec. Toon, the Croth warrior, seemed eager to stoke the flames of disdain against the humans. His presence alone commanded attention, a hulking figure armored in chitinous plates, his many eyes gleaming with contempt. He thrived on provoking others, believing strength lay in intimidation. Midway through the feast, the atmosphere grew heavy with anticipation. Vaketoon stood, raising his voice over the murmur of voices. "Tell me, Captain Holt," he called out, "what use is this trinket? Surely a warrior worthy of respect would never carry a weakling's plaything." The hall erupted in laughter once more, louder this time. Vaketoon stomped his massive foot near Mutt, who lay quietly, motionless save for a flicker of its sensors. Darius's expression tightened, but he said nothing. Instead, he simply leaned forward and said calmly, "Mutt is more than you can comprehend." "Then prove it," Vaketoon sneered. "Show us the might of your plaything." With a swift, cruel motion, Vaketoon stepped directly on Mutt's side again, this time with enough force to snap a support leg. Sparks flew, and Mutt's body spasmed. The laughter ceased abruptly. As a sudden silence filled the room, Darius rose slowly, his voice low but resonant. "You've made a mistake, Warlord." "What mistake?" Vaketoon growled, stepping back with a mocking grin, underestimating the loyalty of a companion. Darius said, kneeling to examine the broken drone. "Mutt is not just a machine, it's the key to a promise Earth made long ago." A tense murmur swept through the assembled delegates. Vaketoon's eyes narrowed dangerously. Darius continued, "There are forces you don't understand. Weapons hidden in the shadows of this galaxy, created to protect humanity at any cost. When you harm what I care for, you awaken those forces. Empty threats from a backward species," Vaketoon spat. "We will not be cowed by toys." The captain's gaze hardened. "You've sealed your fate." Without another word, Darius turned and left the chamber. The murmur of delegates rising again, but tinged now with uncertainty. Back in his quarters, Zaris worked quickly to repair Mutt. The small drone lay on the bench, its damaged leg flickering. Weakly, using advanced nanomaterials and his personal knowledge of Earth's secret technologies, he began the delicate process of reactivating the companion. Mutt's sensors flickered back to life, its head turning slowly toward Darius. A soft whine emitted a signal of trust and readiness. Darius sighed. "You're more than a drone, old friend." They don't know what they've triggered. Meanwhile, elsewhere on Haven's Edge, unseen by the delegates, a quiet transmission hummed through the station's encrypted channels. It was a signal sent to the deepest reaches of human space, activating a long-dormant protocol known only as the Legacy. This protocol was the result of centuries of hidden engineering, failsafe, designed to respond only when humanity's honor or survival was threatened. It controlled fleets of autonomous war machines scattered throughout the galaxy, each armed with technology beyond comprehension. As the feast continued, the galaxy was shifting beneath the surface. A quiet storm was gathering, born of an insult, and fueled by ancient warnings. Darius stood by the viewport, looking out into the stars. "They mocked my companion," he said quietly, "and now they will learn what loyalty truly means." Mutt's sensors pulsed softly beside him, a silent, guardian ready to awaken the wrath hidden in humanity's past. The cruiser hummed softly as it slipped away from Haven's Edge, disappearing into the vast blackness beyond the station's influence. Inside the compact cabin, Captain Darius Holt worked quickly, his hands steady despite the weight of what was to come. Mutt lay on the bench beside him, half repaired but still silent. Darius placed a small data chip into tubes to the drone's core and activated a hidden switch on its side. A soft blue glow spread through Mutt's sensors, then dimmed as the systems booted up. Suddenly, a quiet voice, calm and measured, echoed from the companion speakers. Legacy protocol engaged. Threshold breached, initiating response sequence. Darius nodded grimly. It's time. Long ago, before humanity reached the stars, Earth had faced a threat so dire it nearly ended the species. A powerful enemy had invaded, overwhelming the planet's defenses and pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. In those dark days, scientists and engineers created a secret Wapena failsafe designed not only to protect Earth but to ensure that no one would ever again threaten humanity's survival without consequence. This weapon was not a single ship or missile, but a network, autonomous war machines hidden across the galaxy, each dormant until activated by a signal only a chosen few could send. Mutt, though seemingly just a small robotic companion, was the key, a trigger and a messenger. The legacy protocol was designed to awaken only under the gravest circumstances, when the threat to humanity was undeniable. The destruction of Mutt was that trigger. Vectoon-esque careless cruelty had set events into motion that no one could stop. From his ship's command console, Darius accessed the encrypted network that linked the legacy warships. Thousands of vessels, dormant for decades, slowly stirred to life. These were machines unlike any seen in the current Eru ships, armed with weapons that could twist gravity, disrupt matter, and bend spacetime itself. A holographic map illuminated the cabin, showing the locations of these dormant fleets scattered across remote star systems. One by one, their status shifted from offline to active. Far from Earth, in the depths of the Antares system, one such fleet stirred. Ancient dreadnoughts, silent for generations, rumbled to life. Their automated systems began scanning for targets, their sensors locking on to the Kroth armadas that patrolled the region. Darius watched the data feed closely, his expression unreadable. "They think this is just a warning," he said softly. "It's only the beginning." Back on Earth, the full extent of the legacy protocol remained a closely guarded secret. Few knew of the Super Weapon network or the silent guardians scattered across the stars. Earth's diplomats continued their talks with alien powers, maintaining a fragile peace while the legacy fleet prepared to deliver a message the galaxy would never forget. In the council chambers, word began to spread of mysterious attacks on Kroth outposts, ships destroyed without warning or explanation. Survivors reported encounters with ghostly warships bearing Earth's ancient insignia ships. Thought lost to time. Admiral Cara Thune of the Kroth was among the first to notice the pattern. A brilliant strategist, she pieced together reports and began to suspect the truth. "This is no random act," she told her officers. "Someone is using technology from the old wars. Earth is fighting back, but silently." Meanwhile, aboard his ship, Darius prepared for what lay ahead. The legacy protocol would not stop until its mission was complete: to protect humanity's honor and ensure its survival at any cost. And those who dared insult a human's companion would find themselves facing the full force of Earth's hidden wrath. Mutt's sensors flickered again. Its small voice, clear and steady. Primary directive: protect human life. Secondary directive: punish threats to human dignity. Darius smiled faintly. "You're more than just a drone, old friend." Outside the ship, stars streaked past as the cruiser accelerated toward the outer reaches of known space. The galaxy was changing, and at its heart was a silent Promissa legacy born from pain, loyalty, and unyielding resolve as the legacy fleet moved into position. A simple truth became clear. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would cost them everything. The stars above the Antares system glittered cold and distant as the Kroth fleet gathered for routine patrol. Ships of jagged design and heavy armor moved in formation, their engines humming with disciplined precision. The Kroth believed their strength in numbers kept this sector secure, a frontier far from the heart of human space, but unknown to them. A shadow lurked in the darkness. Without warning, the fleet's sensors began to flicker with strange readings. A silent warning rippled through the command centers, but before the Kroth could react, the first dreadnoughts appeared. These were ships from a long-forgotten Age Oblivion-class warships built in Earth's darkest hour, armed with weapons. Unlike anything the galaxy had seen since the ancient wars, the dreadnoughts struck with brutal efficiency. Gravity disruptors twisted space around Kroth vessels, tearing them apart in moments. Reality-warping cannons fired beams that shattered hulls and scrambled electronic systems. In minutes, the Kroth fleet was shattered, drifting as burning wrecks. Amid the silent void, news of the attack raced across galactic channels. Panic spread among the Kroth and their allies. No one claimed responsibility, but whispers pointed toward humanity. Admiral Cara Thune stood on the bridge of her flagship, eyes sharp and calculating. Her mind raced as she reviewed incoming reports. "This is no accident," she said quietly to her officers. "These weapons bear the signature of Earth's lost fleet technology we believed extinct." Around her, officers scrambled to analyze satellite data, desperate to find the source. The dreadnoughts showed no signs of crew. They were fully autonomous. Yet their tactics suggested strategic intelligence, something more than simple machines. Kara's gaze fell to a holographic projection of the Kroth losses. "They want us to know who did this," she said. "It's a message." In human space, Captain Darius Holt monitored the unfolding crisis from his cruiser. Data streamed in from the Legacy Fleet ship, reporting successful strikes against Kroth targets. His expression remained calm. But beneath it lay a fierce determination. "They think this will force us to back down," Darius said softly. "But they don't understand what loyalty means." Back aboard his ship, Mutt stirred to life, sensors glowing softly as it processed the incoming information. Target identification complete. Kroth fleet incapacitated. It reported in its quiet voice. Darius nodded. "They mocked you. They crossed a line." Elsewhere, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The power behind these attacks was unlike anything seen before. Intuned machines awakened from their slumber. To protect humanity's honor, entire fleets vanished without warning, leaving behind only debris and confusion. The Council of Stars convened an emergency session. Alien delegates argued and speculated, some fearful, others angry. Humanity denied direct involvement, insisting that these were rogue weapons responding to unknown triggers. But among the murmurs, one truth echoed. A new era had begun. The galaxy was no longer the same place. Warlord Vaquan, humiliated and enraged, demanded retaliation. "We must strike back," he growled, "before humanity's shadows consume us all." Admiral Cara Thune disagreed. "We must be cautious," she warned. "They have weapons we cannot match. We need to understand before we act." Meanwhile, far from the Council's reach, Darius prepared his next move. The Legacy Protocol had only begun its reckoning. The fires burning in Antares were a warning, a signal that humanity would defend itself and those it held dear, no matter the cost. Mutt's voice echoed again through the ship's systems. Loyalty defended. Threats identified. Escalation authorized. Darius stared out into the blackness of space, the weight of history pressing down on him. The galaxy had mocked the loyalty between a man and his companion. Now it would pay the price. The silence of space stretched endlessly, but in Captain Darius Holt's mind, echoes from the past roared like thunder. The attacks in Antares were not just retaliation. They were a resurgence of an ancient pain that humanity had carried for centuries. Earth's history was stained with war. Before humans ventured into the stars, their homeworld had faced devastation on an unimaginable scale. In the darkest chapter of that era, a ruthless enemy, known only as the Veilburn, had invaded the planet. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had seen, their numbers overwhelming. Cities burned, governments collapsed, and millions perished. It was a near-extinction event. In response, Earth's greatest minds had banded together in secrecy, forging a plan that would shape the future. They created the Legacy Protocol, a network of autonomous war machines designed to awaken only when humanity's survival was at stake. These machines were hidden across the galaxy, their presence forgotten by all but a select few. Mutt, Darius's small robotic companion, was designed as the key to this network. No one suspected a tiny drone could be linked to such destructive power as Darius repaired Mutt after the attack on Haven's Edge. Memories from Earth's darkest hours filled his thoughts. He remembered the warnings, the faces of those who fought and fell, the sacrifices made to ensure the survival of humanity. The Legacy Protocol was more than a weapon, it was a promise. A promise that no enemy, no insult would ever bring humanity to its knees again. Now, that promise had been triggered. The holly display in Darius's cabin flickered to life, showing images from the archives, scenes of Earth's ruin, the skies aflame, survivors fleeing ruins, fleets burning in orbit. He watched as engineers labored to build the first generation of the Legacy warships. Ancient yet terrifying. The scars of those battles were etched into humanity's DNA, driving their will to survive and defend fiercely. But the Legacy was not just about destruction. It was about loyalty and honor. Darius glanced at Mutt, its sensors now humming steadily. "You carry more than circuits," he said softly. "You carry the soul of Earth's defense." Meanwhile, the galaxy around them was oblivious to the full story. Many races believed humanity had only recently entered the cosmic arena, naive and vulnerable. They did not understand the depth of Earth's history, or the lengths to which humans would go to protect what mattered. Admiral Gearthune of the Croth Dominion was among the few who sensed something greater at work. In her quarters, she studied intercepted transmissions and fragments of the Legacy fleet's battle tactics. "They fight with ghosts of the past," she mused. "We face an enemy shaped by pain and survival. Across distant worlds, alien governments debated their next moves. Some saw the human response as reckless, others as a warning to respect the unspoken bonds between species. The Legacy Protocol's awakening was shifting the balance of power. Back aboard his cruiser, Darius prepared for what would come next. The galaxy was becoming a crucible, testing not only human strength, but the resilience of all species caught in the rising storm. Mutt's voice cut through the quiet. Primary objective, ongoing. Protect human life. Secondary objective, ongoing. Neutralize threats. Darius gave a slight nod, and defend loyalty at any cost. Outside the ship, stars stretched into streaks of light as the cruiser surged toward the unknown. The legacy of Earth was alive and awakening, and the galaxy had no choice but to face it. The war was no longer a distant threat. It had arrived in full force, darkening the edges of known space. Fleets clashed like thunder across star systems. ancient machines awakened by the Legacy Protocol, unleashing devastation against those who dared to threaten humanity. The Croth and their allies struggled to understand their unseen enemy. Grappling with weapons centuries beyond their comprehension, Captain Darius Holt stood on the bridge of his cruiser, watching reports flood in from the front lines. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the tactical displays, showing bursts of energy and crumbling Croth vessels. The Legacy warships moved with eerie precision, coordinated by the silent network that Mutt was a part of. Beside him, Mutt's sensors glowed steadily. The small drones scanned for threats and fed real-time intelligence to the fleet. Enemy units detected, prioritizing human protection. Darius nodded. Good. We need to stay ahead of them. The Croth had begun to adapt. Their commanders developed new strategies to counter the ancient weapons, but every advance was met with a harsher counterstrike. The Croth warlord Vectun was relentless, rallying his forces with fiery speeches, demanding vengeance for the humiliation he had suffered. But even he could not ignore the cost. In the shadows of the war, Admiral Cara Thune weighed difficult choices. She knew her people faced annihilation if they continued the fight blindly. With cautious diplomacy, she reached out to other alien factions, seeking alliances that might balance the growing power of the Legacy fleet. We must find a way to end this, Cara said in a confidential transmission. Our survival depends on it. Meanwhile, Darius's ship received a covert message from a mysterious Sorcen alien faction unknown to most. They offered valuable intelligence about the Croth's weaknesses and possible peace talks. It was a risky move, but the captain considered every option. Prepare a diplomatic envoy, Darius ordered. If we can negotiate, we will try. As the cruiser entered Croth space, tense silence fell over the bridge. The stars seemed to darken, as if the universe itself held its breath. Mutt's voice broke the quiet. Incoming vessel identified. Croth warship class, Stormbreaker. Hostile status, high. Darius tightened his grip on the console. Ready? Weapons, but hold fire. Let them speak. The Stormbreaker loomed into view, its jagged silhouette cutting through the void. Its massive guns powered up, but the Croth captain aboard sent a hail instead of a barrage. Captain Holt, came the rough voice over the comms. This war benefits no one. Your Legacy fleet tears through our forces, but you will not win. With destruction alone. Darius replied steadily. We fight to protect what we hold dear. But if peace is possible, we are willing to listen. The Croth captain hesitated, then said, meet me at the edge of the Antares system. We will talk. The offer was unexpected, but Darius knew it could be a turning point. Back on his ship, he prepared for the delicate balance between war and diplomacy. The Legacy Protocol demanded ruthless defense, but the captain believed there was still room for hope. Mutt's sensors pulsed softly. Diplomatic engagement approved. Threat level monitored. As the cruiser changed course toward the meeting point, Darius felt the weight of history pressing on him. This moment could decide the future, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. In the silence of space, the fires of war flickered uncertainly. Shadows danced between hope and destruction, and Captain Holt stood ready to face them all. The void between stars felt colder than ever as Captain Darius Holt's cruiser approached the designated meeting point near the fringes of the Antares system. The silence was heavy, a fragile pause amid the chaos of war, where hope and suspicion balanced on a razor's edge. Darius stood on the bridge, watching the stars drift past. Mutt sat quietly at his side, its sensors softly glowing in the dim light. The small companion had been a symbol of loyalty and resilience through every battle. And now it was a symbol of something new, a chance for peace. A message from the Croth warship, the Stormbreaker, arrived on the comms. We are ready to meet. Docking protocols engaged. Prepare for transfer. Darius nodded and gestured to his crew. Secure the area and prepare for the meeting. We must be cautious, but open. The airlock hissed as the two ships docked, and moments later, Croth officers boarded the cruiser. Their armor was scarred, faces marked by years of battle, but their eyes held something unfamiliar, a flicker of uncertainty. Admiral Cara Thune led the Croth delegation. Her gaze met Darius's with guarded respect. "Captain Holt," she began, "the war has cost many lives. We seek a way to end the fighting before it consumes us all." Darius stepped forward. "Agreed." The Legacy Protocol was activated to defend humanity's honor and survival. It was never meant to bring endless war. Mutt sensors scanned the room quietly, noting each movement, each expression. The little drone's presence reminded all present of the bond that had sparked this conflict. The mocking of a companion that had unleashed an ancient wrath. Kira's voice softened. "We did not understand the depth of your history, Captain. This war is not just about territory or power. It is about scars that run deep." Darius nodded. "Earth's past shaped who we are. But it also teaches us the value of loyalty, to each other and to those we protect." A tense silence followed, broken only by the soft hum of the cruiser's systems. Then Cara spoke again. "What terms do you propose?" Darius considered carefully. "First, an immediate ceasefire. The Legacy fleet will stand down if Croth forces retreat from human space. Then, joint councils to address grievances, build trust, and prevent future conflict." Kara's eyes searched his face, weighing the offer. Finally, she nodded. "It is a start." Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected a flicker of movement outside. A Croth warship had broken formation, heading toward the meeting point at high speed. Weapon systems activated. Darius's heart tightened. Prepare for possible attack. The door hissed open as Croth Marines stormed the bridge, led by Warlord Vegtune. His eyes burned with fury. "Peace," he spat. "After the humiliation you've brought us." "Never." Cara stepped forward, raising a hand. "Vegtune, stand down. This is not the way." But Vegtune's rage was unyielding. "The galaxy will remember Croth honor, not weakness. If you choose peace, I choose war." In a swift motion, he ordered his troops to seize the bridge. Chaos erupted as crew members scrambled to defend the captain. Darius grabbed Mutt, who immediately powered up defensive protocols, emitting a low, protective hum. "Hold the line," Darius commanded. "We fight for the future, not just for ourselves, but for everyone." The battle was fierce, but brief. With teamwork and quick thinking, Darius's crew and the Croth loyalists subdued the insurgents. Vegtune was detained, his defiance replaced by cold calculation. Kara's voice was steady as she addressed Darius. "Your presence here has kept the peace, but there are those who cling to the past. We must be vigilant." Darius looked at Mutt, then back to the Croth Admiral. "We will build that vigilance together." As calm returned, the delegates resumed talks, now more determined than ever to forge a lasting peace. The scars of war ran deep, but the first steps toward healing had been taken. Outside the cruiser's viewport, stars twinkled silently, bearing witness to a fragile hope, the promise of a future where loyalty and understanding might overcome the shadows of the past. The corridors of the cruiser felt lighter now, the tension of battle replaced by cautious hope. Captain Darius Holt stood on the bridge, staring out at the slowly brightening stars of the Antares system. Beside him, Mutt's sensors pulsed softly, a quiet reminder of the journey they had endured, from mocking to war, from destruction to the fragile peace now taking root. Across the table in the conference room, representatives from humanity and the Croth Dominion met in earnest. The scars of conflict were not easily forgotten, but voices once raised in anger now spoke with a careful respect. Admiral Carathun addressed the assembly. This peace is not the end of our struggles, but the beginning of understanding. We have witnessed the cost of division and now must choose a different path. Darius nodded in agreement. The Legacy Protocol was born from humanity's darkest hour, but it also teaches us resilience and loyalty. We honor that legacy by seeking not just survival, but harmony. Mutt's small voice echoed quietly through the room. Primary objective fulfilled. Human life protected. Secondary objective evolving. Fostering alliance. The alien delegates listened closely, their skepticism softening. Across the galaxy, news spread of the truce brokered in the cold void of space, a truce born not only of necessity, but of mutual respect. But peace was never simple. Warlord Vectuni's imprisonment had sparked unrest among the Kroth factions loyal to him. Rebel skirmishes flared at the edges of Kroth territory, threatening to unravel the fragile accord. Darius and Kara both understood the delicate balance they had to maintain. The legacy of war could not be erased overnight, but it could be shaped together. They devised a plan. Joint patrols, shared intelligence, and cultural exchanges aimed at breaking down centuries of mistrust. The Legacy Protocol's warships, once instruments of destruction, would now stand guard not just for humanity, but for all who sought peace. As months passed, old enemies met as allies in council chambers, discussing trade, defense, and diplomacy. The galaxy, once fractured by suspicion and fear, began to knit itself into a new tapestry of cooperation. On a quiet evening, Darius and Mutt stood on the observation deck of the cruiser, watching distant stars shimmer like jewels. "You've come far," Darius said softly to the drone. From a companion mocked to a symbol of hope, Mutt's sensors brightened in a way that almost seemed like a smile. Loyalty preserved, legacy forged. Darius allowed himself a rare smile. "We've both carried the weight of the past, but now we carry the promise of tomorrow." The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but it was also a place where loyalty could spark change, where even a small companion could ignite a war and then help end it. As the cruiser powered up for its next mission, heading deeper into uncharted space, Darius felt a renewed purpose. The legacy they had inherited was no longer one of destruction alone. It was one of protection, resilience, and hope. The stars ahead shone brighter than before, a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity and the unbreakable bond between a man and his companion. The galaxy would remember this moment, a legacy forged not in anger, but in loyalty.